What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of subscribers for being very generous in their monetary donations to Too Raw for TV, aka Too Raw for Sports. Alright, so I want to give a shout out to the sister, Sharon, for the $20 donation via the Cash App, and I see your video requests. I'll talk about that a little bit later on today. And I want to give a shout out to the brother Joker for the $45 donation yesterday. And peace to you, brother, for the donation, and I see your video request, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on today as well. I just got a little bit overwhelmed with the videos for yesterday, but I will be putting out request content today. So much respect to you guys for showing love to Too Raw for TV. So I want to talk about this interview that Steve Harvey did with Shannon Sharpe on his YouTube channel. By the way, Shannon Sharpe, in my opinion, does not need Undisputed anymore. He doesn't need him. He doesn't need the show. He doesn't need Skip Bayless. I mean, if you look at Skip Bayless' YouTube channel versus Shannon Sharpe's, it's night and day. I mean, quite honestly, some of my videos do better than Skip Bayless. And Skip has like supposedly 180,000 subscribers or something. His channel sucks. Shannon Sharpe's channel is popping. Now, I know we get on him for being a jigger, you know what. Gotta kind of stop saying that because YouTube is cracking down on speech that they find offensive. So anyway, even though Shannon Sharpe be on some BS a lot of times, man, I gotta give him credit. This is a great interview he did with Steve Harvey. And in this interview, Steve Harvey was talking about, this segment I looked at, because it was an interview that sort of split up in different pieces. I was looking at the one where he admits to having beef with none other than Bernie Mac, and to a certain extent, Cedric the Entertainer. Now, he's not really talking about the beef that I'm thinking about. I'll reference that a little later on. But in this interview segment, he was talking about the kings of comedy, right? And how initially he, Bernie Mac, and Cedric the Entertainer were the original trio. And that this guy came to them with this idea of a Kings of Comedy tour, and he thought the dude was out of his gourd. Ain't no way we could sell out basketball stadiums. You know, all of us together, each one of us only can sell out 5,000, maybe 6,000 a show. How are we going to fill out a basketball stadium which houses over 20,000 people? So, at the very least. So he said, well, if you guys combine your audience, you can do it. So, the first run they had, it was pretty successful, but he said the first night, the first show was horrible for him, Steve Harvey, because his mother had passed away earlier that month that they had their first show, and I understand completely how he feels when you lose your mom. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have probably lost your mothers. If you still have your mother, you need to cherish her. Because I remember when I lost my mother, I was in a fog, really, for about a month, and then even afterwards for about another 2 to 3 months, I still wasn't myself. And you never really totally get over that anyway. Never really get over the loss of your mother. If you lose your father, it hurts too. It really hurts. But when you lose your mother, a boy, a man. But anyway, Steve Harvey said, he had totally been in so much of a fog that he had forgot that his comedy special had aired just prior to the debut of the Kings of Comedy. So the audience, his fans, had already heard his material. So to him, this is new material, but they had already heard on the special maybe a few days before. So they booing him, saying, "Hey man, give us some new fucking jokes and all of that shit," you know. So they really getting at him. He sucks because they already knew his material. The radio stations were turning his ass up. So he said it motivated him to come up with a fresh new act within a matter of days. And he said after that, he killed. And he said they killed. But the problem was that they were supposed to do 30 minutes apiece, right? And, you know, it would be like, well, Bernie would do 50 minutes. Sedge would do 48 minutes. And then Steve was always the last guy. And he said it was really bad when he was following Bernie Mac. Because Bernie Mac was that dude, you know what I mean? So ultimately, they got it honed down to where each act was about the same. And the next year, that's when they added D.L. Hughley. And Steve became the host. So they were fine-tuning the whole thing. And he said they argued. He said they did beef about the order. He said sometimes, man, you know, I don't want to be last. We all making the same amount of money. Why always gonna be last? So they finally figured out some system and, you know, how it would work and all of that. And it was very, very successful. And then he said the Kings of Comedy tour was just on a whole nother level. And then he said there was this blue collar comedy tour that came out with Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy. You might remember that. And it wasn't as successful. But he said what broke up the whole comedy thing was that, you know, they started, like he said, certain guys became Hollywood. Bernie Mac went Hollywood. Cedric Entertainer went Hollywood. Steve says that he didn't want to be in movies because that wasn't his thing. He'd rather do TV and radio. Right? Now, this is where I call bullshit. That ain't what I heard. Okay? Now, some of you guys may know, even though I respect the hell out of Steve Harvey as a comedian, as a person, there's a lot left to be desired there. Okay? I remember Bernie Mac's Jet magazine interview from 2003, right? And I remember in that interview, he was talking about how Steve Harvey and him had been beefing and things hadn't been cool between them because of the way that Steve Harvey acted when Bernie got that offer to do what it was, I think it was Ocean's 11. And that apparently, from what I could tell, and there is a such thing as professional jealousy. It happens. It happens in any field where people are competitive, not just sports. It happens with acting. It happens, hell, with our regular jobs. People can sometimes get jealous if they find out the guy's making more money, and then in their mind, they somehow think they're doing more work than the other guy. But yeah, there was professional jealousy between Steve Harvey and Sedge, but especially Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac. To the point where Bernie Mac claims that it got physical at one point. Like, the rumor I heard, I don't know if it's true, allegedly, Steve Harvey jacked up Bernie Mac. Jacked him up against the wall and got in his face. And it was because of the fact that he was jealous. He was jealous of the fact that Bernie, out of the group, his star was rising. He started doing movies, getting those movie checks. See, that movie check is a whole different animal than a TV sitcom check. Now, of course, you had Seinfeld making $1 million the last season. What was it, $1 million an episode? Now, that's rare. But, you know, those movie star checks, man, you making 10, 15, 20, $25 million a movie. Even more Will Smith have deals where he's making 30, 35 million plus a percentage of the profits of the movie. It's different. So Bernie said that he found out through his agent that Steve had his agent put a bug in the producer's ear that Bernie Mac ain't reliable. Steve Harvey is funnier. You should seriously consider Steve for the role. And Bernie was like, well, why is Steve doing this? Steve denied it, but all channels indicated internally that it was the case. And that's why a lot of us who are old enough to remember, some of you guys who are a little bit younger, you may not remember this. Bernie died in August 2008. A lot of us remember the funeral, or the public memorial service, I guess I should say, for Bernie Mac in Chicago. And Steve Harvey was there. And a lot of people accuse him of alligator tears because the word on the grapevine was that Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac were not cool anymore. You know what I mean? And who's the guy that took over the mantle when Bernie passed away? Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, the dude that took over that mantle and became like the man, you know what I'm saying, in the comedy world for a while. But I just want to put that out there because I don't think he's being genuine when he's saying in the interview, well, I never really wanted to be a movie star. That just ain't that ain't my bag. I wanted to be a TV star. I think that's just a cop-out because of the three, of the three because, D.L. Hughley never really ventured into movies. But of the three, Steve Harvey was the one that never really was able to develop any type of cinematic career. And I think it bothers him. And he claims that he wasn't interested in the movies, but what was that movie he did when he was the uncle or some shit like that? I can't remember the name of the movie, but was it Lottery Ticket or am I thinking about another movie? But I know some movie, Steve Harvey was in. He was in a lot of other movies back in the day. So he was trying to venture into Hollywood. It just that, that just wasn't his thing. He ain't a good actor. And also, I kind of feel like his comedy didn't translate over into films very well. But yeah, you better believe he was jealous of Bernie. He tries to cover it up now. He probably feels bad about it because Bernie Mac passed away. He probably has regrets, but he was jealous of Bernie, man. He was jealous of the fact that Bernie was in Ocean's 11 and doing movies with, people like goddamn Brad Pitt and, motherfuckers like that and George Clooney. He's in Transformers. He's doing movies with Ashton Kutcher. Doing remakes of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. You know what I mean? Mr. 3000. Getting that big time money. Getting a kiss on goddamn Angela Bassett. Ooh, boy, was Angela Bassett fine in Mr. 3000. But anyway, that's all I got to say in this one, man. Tell me what you guys think.